Hi, how are you, fine folk? Welcome to this thing that was originally just supposed to be a quick piece of content just so I could get something up, because as you can hear from my surroundings and see in my voice, I'm recently getting over being ill and I've moved. Again, I'm getting really good at moving a whole bunch, and unfortunately those two things in combination have resulted in a lot of my energy being drained, and as such I've had to delay more production-heavy videos. And originally this was supposed to just be a quick 10-minute video and then, oops, 2,600 words. It's because, you see, I had all of that time to just keep doing revisements and changing this and changing that, take out this bit, add this bit, take out these two bits, on and on and on it went, until I finally just said, I gotta set up the camera, because I gotta get something done. So here we are. It's great to see you again. Anyhoozle, I just finished playing Digimon Survive. The word just, doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. Survive is a game that had a pretty fraught development cycle, but it was a game with a concept that I was really into. You see, I love strategy RPGs, even though I'm kind of shit at them, and I'm a huge mark for a good visual novel. So you take two genres that I really like, you smash them both together, throw a Digimon coat of paint on it, I'm in. See, I just love Digimon as a franchise. I love that it's always willing to experiment with different concepts and new ideas, like Digimon Survive. These experiments might not always work, but they're always at minimum interesting. Like, even, you don't understand how sad I was that in the numerous revisements I did, I took out my multiple tangents on Digimon Ghost Game. Like, that's a really interesting concept for that show too, and much like Digimon Survive, it too is a beacon of wasted potential. Spoilers, if you wanted to know what my opinion was. Now, if you have any familiarity with this game, you might be thinking to yourself, it's a pretty long game, it could take 60 plus hours to achieve the true ending. Did you go through that? I did not do that. I beat Digimon Survive in 35 hours. Just once. I played through it once. I only got one of the endings that you can get. I know what's required of me to get that true canon ending. No, I'm not doing that. And normally I'm game to get the full or true endings in visual novel games, even if you might not think so, given that the last visual novel game I talked about on this channel, Robotics Notes Dash, I didn't get the final ending in that game either, and I've already spoken my piece as to why I didn't do it in that game, but it's a bigger question as to why I didn't do it for the admittedly much better Digimon Survive. Well, in order to understand that, I think we need a little bit of context. Digimon Survive sold itself on the idea that when you get to the digital world, the characters that are there with you are very much mortal. It does not play around with that fact either. Like, lose conditions in this game don't say you lose if your team is defeated. No. It says annihilated. You don't lose if your adorable little Agumon partner faints. Oh, no. You lose if he dies. And the human characters that are with you can die based off of the choices that you make. That's a pretty intense sales pitch. That's got me fairly intrigued. It's a shame that's not really true. In Digimon Survive, you play as Takuma. He and 7 other children are sent to the digital world, and upon arriving, they each get their own partner Digimon. As you go through the story, you can speak with all these different characters in Digimon, and occasionally options will pop up that act as Takuma's responses. And sometimes this will build your affinity with the other characters, and other times your choices will fall into 3 emotional categories. Now, building your affinity can help in a multitude of ways, the most prevalent being that it allows the other human characters to get their partner Digimon to evolve past champion level. It's the emotional choices you make that can affect your ending. Kinda. As I said earlier, the emotional choices you make fall into 3 nebulous categories: Wrathful, moral, and harmonious. Those are really vague concepts that are difficult to define, at least in terms of a dialogue tree for a video game. I'll give you an example from early in the game to illustrate how it works. You find a Koromon and it's being attacked by a Gotsumon. You, the player, are given 3 choices. You can either yell to distract the Gotsumon, you can run away, or you can defend Koromon. Now, I think we can all agree, at least in terms of a good-bad video game-based binary, that running away would be considered the bad choice to make here, right? That's clearly the negative option, but is it wrathful to run away? Wrath just seems like a strange choice of words. I would say running in this situation might be more cowardly, but is that even correct? I mean, let me tell you the story to this point, okay? Takuma is a middle school kid who's just been transported to another world and has been attacked by monsters. Would it really be wrong for him to run away when said monsters are now fighting each other? Now, of course, if you have any familiarity with Digimon, you know Koromon evolves into Agumon, and Agumon is Takuma's partner Digimon. It's all over the promotional material, and it's on the case of the fucking game. But even if we can agree that running away is, according to the game, the wrathful choice, which of the remaining options is harmonious? Which one is the moral choice? Is it moral to defend Koromon, or is it moral to distract his attacker? Well, I'll tell you, according to the game, the moral choice is to distract Gotsumon. And usually throughout the course of the game, the choices that are considered moral are sort of milquetoast. Like if there's ever an option for inaction or, waiting and seeing and just basically not taking any immediate action, those ones tend to be moral. Harmonious is your pretty basic paragon choices, whereas wrathful waffles between being just sort of flippant, testy, or violent, but never too excessive in any of those things, because you still want all of the characters outside of Takuma to, like him throughout the course of the story and not want to string him up from the ceiling by his toes. Let me tell you that, here's the truth, okay, about those emotional choices you can make, okay? There are only 2 things that tangibly change based off of those choices. One is determining what form Agumon will evolve into. I chose the moral route because I'm just a milquetoast human. If you choose moral, he becomes Greymon. The other options, I forget. Sue me. I think one of them, wrathful, I think is Tyrannomon. I don't remember the other one, and I don't feel like looking it up. The second thing that tangibly changes, and this is the funnier one, the other thing that tangibly changes based on your emotional choices is the immediate response of the person you're talking to. That's it. At least this is the case for most of the game. Once you start to reach the final few chapters, that's when it starts to really matter. At least it does in Chapter 8. At the end of Chapter 8, you are given one of the emotional response choices. Whichever one you choose is what determines the route you are going to be on till the ending. So it doesn't matter what you've done up to this point. If you are given this response and you choose moral, you're on the moral route. Wrathful, you're on wrathful, so on and so forth. The game even warns you about this before you make the choice, like bringing up a save state notification telling you, hey, numbnuts, the plot is about to diverge, so you better get ready to make your choices or save here because this is going to be the part you want to come back to if you want to see how everything else plays out. But more importantly, what it's telling you by bringing up this plot divergence notification, it's basically explaining to you that none of the choices you've made up to this point have mattered. You see, the game doesn't give you your ending based off of which of those 3 emotions you chose the most. No, it's just whatever one you choose at the end, provided, of course, you have made some of those responses throughout the game. Like, for example, in my playthrough, I didn't make any wrathful choices, so when I got to the final emotional response at the end of Chapter 8, the wrathful option didn't even show up as a choice I could make. The game just decided, no, it's over for you, bud. You haven't been wrathful up to this point, you're not going to start now. Well, if that's the case, and none of your choices really matter, how is it that the characters can die? Is it like a Mass Effect 1 thing where you have to choose between two characters, one to live and one to die? Is it a Mass Effect 2 thing where you have to select certain characters for tasks and you also have to have high affinity with them? Or is it like a Mass Effect 3 thing where some characters are just going to die and that's just a thing you're going to have to put up with? Well, the answer is... well, here's how I'll explain it. No matter what route you choose, two characters are guaranteed to die, period. In your first playthrough, there's nothing you can do. It's the same set two characters. They die before the divergent point in the plot. You can't do anything. It doesn't matter how high your affinity is with them or anybody else. They die. And then a set two characters die if you choose the harmonious route, and then a separate set of two characters die if you choose the wrathful route. If you choose the moral route, no additional characters will die. And that's your lot. You might be thinking, oh, that's kind of a bummer, isn't it? Well, fret not, because once the game is over, you could start New Game Plus, and if you get your affinity with the first character that dies, if you get your affinity with him above a very low threshold, he will survive. And his survival will in turn cause the other person who is guaranteed to die to not die. And then you can go through the moral route again. And I say again because that's what I did. You can go through the moral route again, and then you'll get the true, very nice, happy ending where nobody dies. Hooray! So, why didn't I do that? Well, this is gonna sound bad, but the two characters who are guaranteed to die before the divergent point, I don't really like them. You know, I'm not saying, they deserve to die. I mean, that would make me sound really bad. I mean, no child deserves to be eaten by a Wendigomon, but I mean, he was a bit of a dick. And not for nothing. I'm speaking for myself here, of course. It's my video, that is implied, but the nascent moral ending that I got is perfectly fine. Like, if you're okay with those two shitty characters staying dead, the moral route's A-okay, It's not bad at all. Like, the most amount of characters who can survive do. And, it's like, it tries to be all bittersweet by saying, oh, well, the kids got to go home, but the Digimon had to stay behind in the digital world. Isn't that sad? Well, maybe, but... I mean, it's heavily implied at the end of the game that the line between the digital world and the human world is thinning, and those Digimon will be reunited with their partner humans sooner rather than later, so fuck them. In reality, the true ending is just that the Digimon and the humans get to be reunited a little sooner than they do in the regular moral ending, so... I mean, do I really need to replay a slow-paced 30-plus hour visual novel that's not gonna tangibly change much outside of two additional characters that I don't even like being around more? Do I want to put myself through that? No. And that is Digimon Survive. If you like this video... Oh yeah, I didn't even discuss the strategy RPG elements. I mean, that wouldn't really be fair, methinks, because I played Digimon Survive right on the heels of playing Disgaea 6. Disgaea 6 is the 6th game in a franchise that has had 20 years to perfect its strategy elements and mechanics. This little game is very much a pure visual novel that happens to have an incredibly simplistic strategy RPG system attached to it. It is very minimalist. Like, there's not a lot of depth, not a lot of strategy outside of Digimon's built-in Rochambeaus. And quite honestly, once you get the ability to evolve your Digimon past champion level, like once you start getting ultimate and mega forms, fighting becomes a cakewalk, which is fine with me because, like I said, this game is very slow. But, if the battle system isn't that great, maybe it's the creature collection aspect of it that's good. Like, sometimes that can save a pretty lackluster battle system, in my opinion. Like the Digimon Cyber Sleuth games, which are somewhere on this shelf, but anyway. Like in those games, they have a pretty simplistic battle system, in my opinion, but fighting alongside all of my favorite Digimon and having them all in the party made it a lot more tolerable. Is that the case for Digimon Survive? Not necessarily. Okay, so getting Digimon to join your party is one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. As you go through the story, you can select the different areas you want to go to via a menu. It's mainly just used for the visual novel segments. You go from room to room, and you see which characters are in that room, and it basically allows you to select who you want to talk to, and you can explore the area, find items, shit like that. But there's always a section in every major hub area called Free Battle. And if you select that, you'll enter a strategy RPG grid, and you can fight against Digimon. Like, it tells you which Digimon you would fight before you even select it. So, like, you can scroll down to it, and it's like, hey, there's, Bergermon is here, and, Angemon, whoever. Just pick Digimon. I had to pick some off the top. It didn't go well. It's like, do you want to fight them? Cool, head out to this, and you can fight them for XP if you want, or you can get them to join you. Since this game is a visual novel where dialogue choices and conversation are an important aspect of the main game, it makes sense that that would be used and incorporated somewhat to capture these Digimon. And I think that's like a really cool idea. Like, that's something a little different. And I like the idea, but its implementation is very weird. Now, much like any other strategy RPG, you're given a list of commands that you can make. You can move your units, attack, defend, use items, all the basic stuff, but there is also a special command called Talk, and this is available to all of the partner Digimon, so Agumon and then the other main characters and their partners can use the Talk command, and it serves a couple of different functions. You can either talk to the other party Digimon, and by that I mean the other main character Digimon, the partner ones. That will give the party different stat boosts, simple stuff like that. But you can also speak to the foe Digimon. If you do that, a progress bar appears. And these Digimon will then ask you 3 questions that each have 4 possible answers. And the answer you choose will either fill up the progress bar, not fill up the progress bar, or make it go down. And it does so based on what the Digimon you're talking to prefers for your answers. How do you determine what the different Digimon will and will not prefer? Well, you're either going to memorize it for every single Digimon, or you're going to realize that that is insane and look it up in a guide. And these questions are like the stupidest shit I've ever heard. Like, here's one. Like, let's say, do you want Patamon to join your team? Yeah, you want Patamon to join your team. Patamon's a popular Digimon, evolves into Angemon, evolves into Magna Angemon later, is really fucking strong, love Magna Angemon. Well, it wants to know why leaves are green. That's right, multiple choice. 4 choices. Why are leaves green, idiot? The answer is you don't know. You don't know. And it doesn't matter that chlorophyll is a possible answer you can give. Patamon's not interested in that. If you give that answer, it won't want to be your friend. Patamon is clueless and so can you. Okay, it's not interested in any potential knowledge you might have. That's not what it's asking. It wants you to say you don't know if you want it to be your friend. And when you answer these questions, if your answers are to your interrogator's liking, they'll give you a final choice. You can ask it for items, or you can ask it to join your party. And the game will show you the percentage chance you have of success in doing this. So you may have, you might seem like the perfect pal for Patamon to chum around with, but there's only a 38% chance that it'll want to join you. And if it decides no, it runs away. That's it. It's gone. You don't get to try again, at least until the next time you select Free Battle and Patamon's there. But what happens if you give the wrong answers? If you get to the end of Patamon's test and it realizes, you know what? It wasn't impressed with the fact that you told it why leaves are green. Well, now it's going to get angry and it's going to get stat boosts. So, yeah, you might have thought you were getting real cute there, but, well, now Patamon's got boosted attack and he's going to come and kick your ass. So, buckle up, Buster, and get ready for battle. And like everything else in this game, battle is slow. Everything is slow. The UI is slow, the story's pace is slow, movement is slow, the menus are slow. You know, it almost feels mean to call it slow, but to call it deliberate would be a lie. And lying would be the most wrathful thing I've done in regards to this game. But we come back to the ultimate question. Did I like it? Well, it's like I said earlier, I love Digimon. Digimon handles more mature themes than its contemporaries, and I think it suits this style of video game really well. Like, a Digimon visual novel is like a really good idea. I'd like to see it used for more things. And the strategy RPG elements are incredibly bare bones, but as such, there's a lot you could add to it. Like, what's here might be slow and simple, but it's very much usable. A lot could be added in a potential sequel. On top of that, it's a decent looking game. The character sprites are nice and expressive. I love the partner Digimon they chose to be in the game. The visual novel segments are great. I think there is a ton of potential for a sequel, and if one were announced, I would probably be front and center for it. There's a lot you could do to improve it, don't get me wrong. You know, give the choices a little bit more impact, speed things up a whole lot, and, you know, maybe put a little more flair to the battle animations, and I think you've got something, the makings of something really good. Also, maybe do another pass with your translation. I don't want to harp on this too much because, you know, there's a lot of words that you got to go through for a visual novel, and localization's already a pretty thankless task, but I noticed quite a few times they seem to get pronouns, I don't want to say right, because I think most Digimon are canonically genderless and some are merely coded male or female, you know, unless they got big old titties flopping about. Those ones tend to be she, her. But I noticed, like they would switch. Like, pronouns would switch for the same Digimon in the same conversation. Like, it would go between him and her a lot. Like I said, not a huge deal. It was just like a weird thing I noticed. Like, and it happened the most with Renamon, which I thought was very funny. You know, Renamon of all characters, the one who's like, Renamon is pretty much like universally portrayed as female. Not that it really matters. I mean, male or female, Renamon's gonna be responsible for a legion of furries. You know what I'm talking about. Look at this thing. They knew what they were doing when they designed Renamon. It's every chud's biggest fear, furries and pronouns. So those were, this time for real, my thoughts on Digimon Survive. If you liked this video, great, prove it by liking, commenting, and subscribing, and doing all of the other stuff that's required of somebody at the end of a YouTube video. Also, be sure to look in the description because there's links there that will take you to my social media pages, books, and webcomics. A lot of plurals in there. Check them out if you'd like. I picked up my drink, but I can't do my send-off little bit of flair if I have a drink in my hand. Support me if you can, love me if you must, and have a wonderful day.